Hello, everybody. Welcome to our discussion today. Today we're talking about government and some of the challenges in the public sector, working for, interacting with the public sector. There's four. First one we talk about is declining revenues. Revenues are taxes, and taxes continue to fall within the federal, state, and local governments. Taxes are going up, but the revenues aren't rising as much as they used to. What are some of the reasons for that? Well, when taxes first started in the early 1900s, only 1% of the population paid taxes, and the max tax was 7%. Today, the max tax is anywhere from 50 to 55% when you include all levels of taxation. So again, it went from 7% to 55%. The second thing is taxes today consume a considerable amount of money, but we still don't collect enough. Our deficit's almost $20 trillion. So we're not bringing in enough taxes. So our tax base is not bringing in the money that we thought it would. In fact, there's 60 million people who should be paying taxes that don't pay taxes. In other words, they're at an age where they could be paying taxes, but they don't, for one reason or another, pay taxes. So there's a wide section of the population that does not pay taxes. So we have declining revenues. We're not capturing as much revenue to pay for, which is the second issue, which is rising expenditures. Here's some just statistics anybody can get. About 65% of all federal spending is for what's called transfer payments, which is Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps. It's money that you take from one person to give to another. Most people think it's defense or education. It's actually taking money from one person and giving it to another, called transfer payments. Again, no value judgment. This is just where the money goes. In fact, you look at the statistics, about 60 million people are on Medicaid, 54 million are on Social Security, 50 million are on Medicare, 45 million are on food stamps, 20 million work directly for the government, and millions more contract with the government. So what we're saying is that these expenditures are becoming quite pronounced, especially when we don't have the revenues to pay for it. Again, we have a $20 trillion debt. And that doesn't include, by the way, Social Security debt and some of the others. That's just the debt on our income versus expenditures, which leads to the third issue in government today. There's going to be a tremendous quest for efficiency, I believe, in the next 5 years or so. You're going to have many more audits, and maybe people from the private sector come in and say, we're going to analyze these programs to be much more efficient. There's one statistic alone that's somewhat interesting, that if the public sector, which is government, paid like the private sector, in other words, you have a job in the public sector and you have a job in the private sector, if they were paid equally, the federal government would save $50 billion just by itself. So in other words, they're overpaying people in the federal government by a tune of $50 billion a year. So their savings are going to have. It's going to be this quest for efficiency, which is the last issue that we have. Remember, there's four. The last issue, which is difficult decisions. We're at a point now where the government simply can't afford all the services that they offer. Even though some of them go to very well-meaning individuals or groups, the government simply is not bringing in the money to pay for them anymore. So what we're going to see in the next years is very difficult decisions, some cuts that have a constituency, a vocal constituency, maybe a needed product or service that's given is going to have to be cut simply because there's just not the money to fund it. So this is not meant to be bad, but it's meant to, in education, we don't bury our head in the sand. We actually look at issues, try to understand issues, and then try to resolve them. And the issues are that we have declining revenues and rising expenditures. We're going to have to be much more efficient, and we're going to have to do some cuts, some that could be painful. But we do it in the private sector. If we don't have customers, then the public sector is going to be seeing that as well. So hopefully that gives you some basis for us to discuss. And as you go into the public sector, you want to work in government, hope you understand some of the issues that are going to be around in the next 5 years. And once we know what the issues are, we can work to solve them. With that, hope everybody enjoys today. Look forward to chatting with you as always. Take care.